Welcome to Chai Chat with Lavina. Today's Chai Chat is being hosted by Democracy Forum, which is a platform that brings a lot of controversial issues and people with divided opinion on one platform to provoke thought and bring them to some sort of thinking process. And this has been put together by a very, very good and important magazine, Asian Affairs, that has been running for the past 20 years. But I don't have so much to say about it. William Crowley, who has been involved with this magazine and the forum, and then I'm going to introduce, for a change, what Democracy Forum has brought as a very, very interesting topic today that we are going to discuss. So, William, first, would you please mind telling us a little bit more about Democracy Forum?
The Democracy Forum arose, as you said, out of initiative of the publishers of Asian Affairs, a monthly news journal, published by its founder, Ajit Sadhamra. The news journal covers a whole range of world affairs, but with a particular focus on Asia, naturally. Democracy Forum is a different purpose, as you were saying, trying to get from time to time people together within London in different specialisms, usually with an interest in South Asia, to discuss issues which are of importance in the subcontinent, particularly security issues.
Ah, brilliant. Thank you. And one such security issue that we will be able to discuss, is thanks to you guys, is the whole world of nuclear armament. The world almost seems to be divided into nuclear and non-nuclear. Now, that itself has created a lot of complexity in itself. But there's another debate now of non-state actors, like, if we may call the terrorists, can they get their hands on these nuclear bombs or warheads or dirty bombs? I don't know. I don't know so many things about it. And what happens then, and how imminent is that threat, is what we're going to discuss here today. So thank you very, very much, everybody, for joining me on Chai Chat. Could I just throw this question up in the air and say, how has this whole nuclear and non-nuclear order of the world changed the geopolitics, or changed the world as such?
Well, it changed it in 1945, didn't it?
Yes, did it?
And subsequently, country after country went for nuclear weapons. At one time, it was the monopoly of the United States. The technology was thought to be far too difficult for any other country in the world to obtain. But then the Soviet Union got it 5 years after that. And now even a country like North Korea is able to make nuclear weapons and make lots of them.
Yes.
They've already had 4 nuclear tests.
Yes.
5th one is imminent. And so basically this is something that is unstoppable. And yet it cannot be accepted as unstoppable. It has to be stopped, because the world is under threat.
Yes.
Under threat both from states,
Yes.
as well as you said, non-state actors,
Yes.
which is a polite way of calling them terrorists. They are terrorists. They want to impose their views, their view of the world upon other people's, and they're dangerous, and they would love to get their hands onto such technology. Is it possible? I don't know.
Very worrisome, and we do want to go into that realm, but something quite interesting. You have US, Russia, France, UK, China. Am I missing anybody? These
Israel?
These are the 5
permanent members of the United Nations Security Council.
And they are the only accepted people to have the nuclear weapons, and I guess by their own admission only. But India, Pakistan, and Israel, we know has, and so. I mean, my question is, it was US who created this thing and used it as well, and then also created this whole treaty, which everyone is supposed to adhere to, and not have nuclear arms. How does that make sense, really?
Well, it's power. So essentially, the world order is at the moment is the 5 nuclear powers were the strongest and most developed victors of the Second World War.
Yes.
They also set up the World Bank and the IMF and the other structures, which is now being challenged by China and to a certain extent by India and Brazil if it comes up, saying they want their seats on this thing. But the permanent nuclear thing is a political expression of their power. everybody comes all and says we want to get rid of these weapons, but in fact these weapons have kept the world away from a world war since the end of the last World War.
Ah.
So there is an argument to say that they are doing their job in that they're... The reverse to that argument now is that you have the equivalent of the suicide bomber, and therefore you would have the equivalent of the suicide state, possibly. So you've got a sort of shifting sands, as it were, on that issue. But on the issue of will terrorists get hold of it, I think that it is far less dangerous now than it was in the early 90s. Because in the early 90s you had the collapse of the Soviet Union and you had huge stockpiles of nuclear material which was available to people, and this was precisely the time that Al-Qaeda was beginning. The first attack on the World Trade Centers was in 1993. If they were able to do that, they would have done it then, and they didn't.
May I
Of course.
disagree with you?
I'd love you to.
Very humbly. But in 1962, which was the Cuban Missile Crisis, the world came very close to annihilation. It wasn't suicide bombers, it was two of the world's most responsible, the most powerful states of that time. And they were in quarrel about whether the Soviet Union could place its missiles in Cuba. The United States had already done so across all the areas bordering the Soviet Union, including Turkey, and we had come within that much to annihilation of the world because they had a huge number of weapons at that time, enough to destroy the world 3 times over. Today, I think the possibilities of getting your hands on to highly enriched uranium, the most dangerous material on this planet, is substantial. And in spite of the fact that those materials have been secured in the ex-Soviet Union, nevertheless, there's a lot of this stuff still lying around.
Something interesting that both of you mentioned is that the wars have been kept at bay because we have nuclear power now. Do we agree with that, really?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think we should look at the case of Iran. I mean, this is a very successful foreign policy initiative for President Obama, that he managed to negotiate that the Iranian government would basically dismantle its nuclear capability, and no one thought it was possible. And this is the way forward if we can get other countries to follow this initiative. But this is a difficulty. I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see if one day we can follow the initiative if you're going across to, say, Israel, because within that region, Israel is the only country who has a nuclear capability, but insists on keeping it. And then it goes from that region, we go straight down now to Pakistan and India. So there is light at the end of the tunnel in the Iranian model, but we have to see whether this Iranian model can be spread across the world.
It just, this thought crops in my mind that, is it really a deterrent? Because Iraq, the whole situation happened because this whole West, call it US, UK alliance, wanted to destroy that chemical weapon or whatever it existed or non-existed. And then this has, the new form of terrorism, if we may say so, is a splurge from that. So has it really been a real deterrent?
You know, I agree with you, because this also comes to my mind that you see this old argument of nuclear deterrence, which is the Cold War argument. And also, you see, we talk in terms of that there has been no world war. But you see, let's move away from the concept of the world war as it was.
Yeah.
True. Wars are not being fought on the territories of these nuclear powers, but they are being fought, as you said, like in Syria. And then, you know, the whole world is in the midst of a war here or there, and it flares up. So that's one thing that bothers me. And the second thing, I want to go back to what Parvez said, that you see in '62, when we were very close to annihilation and there were
global annihilation.
Yeah, that's right, because there were only two people at that time. And in fact, I'm reminded of that film, I'm sure most of you have seen, Stanley Kubrick's film of 1964, I think, Dr. Strangelove. You see, now that film, I mean, that is black comedy, but now it's like that comedy can be not controlled, because as Eureka said just now, I mean, there is North Korea, there is somebody else, and we don't even know, probably with the infiltration of internet and all, that how many people can gain access to. I mean, I'm not an expert on how easy or difficult it is to make a nuclear bomb, but judging by that, as they said today in the seminar, that uranium, all you need is that it can be procured. Somebody also mentioned, I think you mentioned that it's only 90 kilos of highly enriched uranium which one needs, and if somebody can get their hands on. And then there are all those arguments also fall by the wayside, you know, that there will be counterbalances and checks. I think that maybe I'm sounding very alarmist, but I think it's not simple to say that, well, there has been no world war, so it's been a deterrent. No, I think we made the world much more dangerous now.
The world is much, much, much safer than it has ever been before. There is less terrorism than there was 20 or 30 years ago, particularly in Europe. There is more people are being taken out of poverty, the middle classes are getting better, the connectivity through the internet and trade is much more interlinked than before. None of those factors were around during the Cuban Missile Crisis, yet they didn't fight. They did the Turkey deal, as you said. They took the missiles out of Turkey and they took the missiles out of Cuba. That was in '62.
Yeah.
It is still dangerous, and it could still happen, but it's getting better and safer every day.
Very curious.
Safer in which sense? In the sense that nuclear weapons have not been used, or in the sense that today fewer people die in civil wars? Because
both.
Now we have enormous numbers of people dying in Syria, in Iraq, in Libya, primarily as a result of misled ideas of how to change those societies. Those ideas which originated in the West and which have been catastrophic for the people of the Middle East.
I think you've just made the point there, is that firstly these were bad ideas that came from the West that we all know about. Secondly, it's confined to a particular culture and region. So Syria might be in flames, but actually Dubai isn't in flames, and Brazil isn't in flames, and Guatemala isn't in flames, and Thailand isn't in flames, and the rest of it. And once that sorts itself out, which it will, then I think you've probably got a much safer world than you've ever had before.
Only 5 countries have made it they themselves legitimate to have nuclear bombs, while all the others, including India and Pakistan, they're just put on a corner, naughty corner, for doing what they have done, and all the others. How fair is that, and what sort of environment does that creete?
They're not in a naughty corner anymore.
Yes, but everyone goes through that
now,
naughty corner, though.
No. Now I think although they're not members of the nuclear club formally, but India has applied for the membership of the nuclear suppliers group, and so has Pakistan. And India stands a good chance of getting in. Pakistan maybe not so good, but it still might get in. This is a sea change of attitude that's occurred over the last, let's say, 15 years or so, 10 years or so. They're no longer in the dock.
But very quickly, which is the state that's most dangerous to non-state scenario, a state that has nuclear weapons and very dangerous for non-state people to get hold of? Yes. What do you think?
You mean for stuff to be stolen from?
Yes.
It would be Russia.
Russia.
Yeah, it hasn't
What about North Korea?
North Korea, yes,
North Korea.
yes. So that's almost a state, non-state thing. But North Korea, and then I'm thinking of Russia because it's got these sort of unsecured compounds, and North Korea, which proliferate from AQ Khan from Pakistan. You know, if there's another AQ Khan around in any country, a rogue
You've got a problem.
Okay, thank you very much. I have to come back to this IQ count, which has been very interesting even in the earlier part of the day. Thank you very, very much. We're going to wind up our first segment on the note that Russia and North Korea are the most dangerous states from where non-state actors, which we know as terrorists, can procure these nuclear weapons and possibly use it any which way, which we don't want them to. But we will discuss the non-state actors vis-a-vis the nuclear bombs in the next segment of Chai Chat. So do stay tuned on. Thank you.